Our friends at SKnote released the long-awaited DISTO plugin, a dynamic processor inspired by not one but two hardware units considered by many true new classics, the Distressor and the Fatso, originally by Empirical Labs. Let's hear what this thing can do, shall we? Hello everyone and welcome back to MixBuzz TV mixing and mastering tutorials on YouTube. I'm your host David, and today we take the new plugin by SKnote DISTO for a test drive. Released around 1997, I think, the Distressor quickly became an industry standard piece of hardware. Today seen in pretty much every studio in the world, is immediately recognizable by the big white knobs. The Distressor is without any doubt one of the most versatile and good sounding compressors out there. Capable of clean and transparent dynamic control, is mostly appreciated and known for its capability of adding harmonic distortion and saturation. Used on all sorts of material, is usually a go-to for many people for drums, bass and vocals, both for tracking and mixing. I have two hardware Distressors myself and I work with the Fatso, although I've never owned one, so I won't really be able to give you a direct comparison with it. But as a general rule, you know, I don't really care about how hardware compares to the plugins, because they are two different things. It doesn't mean what is better or more or less useful than the other. Plus, this plugin is not emulating only one unit but a combination of two, which makes a direct comparison even more difficult. And again, I don't really care about it, and you shouldn't either. Let's just listen to how the plugin sounds, because that's what's important. The SKnote DISTO promises distortion, compression, warmth and transformer sound. Marketing aside, I'm very curious to hear this in action, as SKnote has the habit of producing very unique sounding plugins. So let's take a look at it. First important thing is the character of the rack is widely expanded by offering two modes, the standard and the out of order. Down here at the bottom, standard mode has the character and headroom, very important, of the original model devices. Out of order mode has a lot stronger effect for stronger processing. And one thing that I can tell you right away after playing with it for a bit is gain staging is the key to use this plugin correctly. So you have to have your ducks in a row here. You have to have your gain staging correct. We have a video about it if you don't know what I'm talking about, link here and in the info box down below. Quick look at the controls. The GUI is very cool. We see the big white knobs, which are easy to read and set. Top two rows show a Distressor pair-like interface, while the bottom unit would be the Fatso part. In stereo mode, the first unit controls both channels, but this plugin can also work in mid-side mode, in which case the top unit controls the mid and obviously the bottom unit controls the side. The first control is the input gain, then we have HP1 and HP2 and band control switch. Whether you want to cut the low end from the detector, we have two options. And with the band engaged, you force the compressor to be triggered pretty much only by the mid frequencies, exactly like the hardware. We have the attack and release knobs, nothing strange here. The ratio button to select from 1:1 to limiting. And in between we have the 1:10 ratio, which engages the opto mode, again like the hardware. See the manual for precise settings to emulate this type of compression. Then we have the distortion switch. HP removes the low end from the output signal, as opposed to the other we've seen next to the input gain, which only removes the low end from the detector. This one is useful for vocals, again, for example, and for when we engage the distortion 2 or 3 to clean up a little bit of mud that could be added when we use the distortion, the saturation part. Distortion 2 and 3 respectively inject second and third harmonics into the signal. This is the cool part of the Distressor, well, one of the cool features of the Distressor. So we have the option to add saturation to our material, which makes it richer, more in your face and all that stuff. Then UK toggle. When we engage this, it activates a special compression mode. If you want to use it for its original purpose, you have to select 1:1 ratio when this UK toggle is engaged, but can be useful on other modes too, so experiment with it. It adds more distortion and makes the compressor more aggressive and so on. Then we have the bottom unit. First control is Hottitude. This is an internal gain staging control. It controls the level of the signal coming out from the compressor stage and going into the saturation. Right control is obviously active only in mid-side mode. In stereo mode, the left control controls everything. And one cool thing that I liked right away when I opened the plugin is just opening the plugin on any material with the altitude engaged. It adds a lot of weight to the material. That's the first thing that I noticed, and I liked it a lot. You will hear that. It makes the material much bigger sounding. Then we have the Trifle button. This inserts a transformer in the signal path. The main result is some saturation in the low end frequency range. This transformer function can be very useful to make low end translating better on smaller system, and in general to make it more intelligible. Warmth is a special dynamic filter, and when you activate it and turn the knob clockwise, it's gonna be one of the most obvious changes on your material, because it's very useful to tame excess high frequency content in attacks and make the sources sound warmer. That's why it's called warmth. It can be very heavy-handed, so my advice is to set it to keep the meter moving and get a dynamic action, otherwise it kind of works like a muffler. But I can see this one working very well on electric guitars to remove the fizziness at the top, at the very top, and on too bright vocals. But we will try that in a minute. And then we have bypass switches. Bypass switch on the first two units disable the whole signal path, meaning also the altitude of the Fatso at the bottom, and then the bypass control on the bottom unit disable the saturation stage. And of course the other bypass controls work only when you use the mid-side mode. But let's hear the plugin in action on some material. Starting with the pretty much default application for Distressor and Fatso, drums. We have a drum coming out directly from Easy Drummer. Let's have a listen. Right now is on the whole drum bus. Bypass. No compression is going on, just a little bit of altitude. You can hear it. Trifle is engaged. Let's crank the altitude and the input gain. Let's start compressing. See how sensitive the gain and the output gain are? That's why I said gain staging is the key. And here we go. Pretty aggressive. I like it. Check this out. I mean, it's a lot of distortion, it's a lot of compression, but hell is nice. Let's try to match the level. And this would be the opto mode with the attack at 10. It sounds very similar to the hardware behavior wise. Pay attention to the release because it pumps. Nice. Really nice. A little less. Let's try distortion. I like distortion too. I always prefer it on the hardware too, but yeah, this tells me that we are there. It seems like it distorts a little bit earlier than the unit. It saturates, I should say, a little earlier than the hardware unit, but the kind of saturation is very close. It's actually a little more muscular in the plugin, I gotta say. So I set up quickly a parallel bus for the whole drum. Let's bypass the disto that is on the drum bus directly, and let's play with the parallel bus. It sounds so aggressive, so nice. Love the distortion too. Oh, distortion 3 too. Shit, I like it better than the the hardware version. Okay, it's mashed enough. Let's inject this in the drum bus. Nice. Really nice. Without it. This again is on a parallel bus on the whole drum. Now I want to try something that I usually do with the Distressor. I already set it up, which is a parallel for snare and kick. So one on the kick, one on the snare in parallel. Let's try it. So first one is on the kick, second one is on the snare. They are in parallel. And let's see how they sound. Big kick. It sounds pretty good. I love it. I want to try it really quick on a loop, so let's open up Boom. The disto. Nice. Hear the snap. So aggressive. Listen how unglued it sounds like this compared to this. Little bit of grit. Full-blown distortion. Let's try it really quick on vocals.
She was the finest thing that I ever did see. I walked over to her, just begging her please. I said, hey baby, do you want to go out with me? You want to know what she said? She said, ooh, we're gonna have a good time. She was the finest thing that I ever did see. I walked over to her,
Distorts
just
nicely.
begging her please. I said, hey baby, do you want to go out with me? You want to know what she said? She said,
Let's try the opto mode.
she was the finest thing that I ever did see. I walked over to her, just begging her please. I said, hey baby, do you want to go out with me? You want to know what she said? She said,
Let's listen to it in the track.
she was the finest thing that I ever did see. I walked over to her,
Without?
Just begging to please. I said, hey baby, do you wanna go out with me? You won't know what she said. She said she was the finest thing that I ever did see. I walked over to her,
Pretty damn nice.
just begging to please. I said, hey baby, do you wanna go out with me? You won't know what she said. She said, ooh,
Without?
have a good time.
Let's try it on bass. Last one. Without. The attitude control is nasty. Listen to it. Quinto, my friend, you're a madman. That's so cool. And if you think this is a lot of distortion on bass on the whole mix, you won't probably hear it.
She was the finest thing that I ever did see.
Without.
I walked over to her,
With.
just begging to please. I said, hey baby, do you wanna go out with me? You won't know what she said. She said, ooh, have a good time. She said, ooh.
Of course, I have to learn myself how to properly gain stage this thing, but the results so far are pretty impressive. One is versatile. It gives you a lot of different tones with just few moves on the knobs. It is really fun because all the option for distortion makes it pretty much perfect for anything parallel, anything aggressive. Like I said, it saturates a little earlier than the original unit, so probably to make it sound clean, you need to spend some time gain staging properly, but to be honest, I wouldn't open this one if I wanted something clean, so who cares? It's really good. I liked it. I would probably say this is my favorite plugin to date from SKnote, and even the Fatso part, which I'm not so familiar with, it sounds cool. It sounds, you know, subtle if you want it to sound subtle with the Trifle option. The warmth can be really useful, and the attitude control is just fun in a knob. I mean, the saturation sounds really nice. All the options that the Distressor have react very close to the hardware unit. It pretty much reacted to the material how I would expect from my hardware units. And so good job to SKnote and my friend Quinto. This plugin is definitely a keeper. I don't know how much it costs, but it's gonna be chump change, I'm sure. I know the guys at SKnote, they always have amazing prices. Really a workhorse plugin. If you want the Distressor sound as close as possible in your DAW, I would go that far and say this is it. This is the closest you can get. And you know, I always say what I think, so if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have reviewed it. And this is it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, don't forget to click that like button down there. Join us on Facebook and Twitter. It's the best way to keep in touch with MixBuzz TV, what's going on, new uploads, news, and we collect questions for future Q&As. Please keep supporting MixBuzz TV by sharing the videos on your social media, forums, blogs, any page you can possibly think about. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and see you next time.